Hi everyone, I'm Lisa Curcio and I would love to welcome you here to Lisa's Stamp Studio. Today is Monday, it is July 31st, the year is 2023, and this is a special YouTube premiere, which means I'm here right now with you in the live chat. If you're here watching the replay, I'm so glad that you've come by. And of course, if you're here live, we'd love to interact with you. I'm going to teach you a DIY birthday card that is never ending. Now, if you're wondering what I'm talking about, you're going to love the flips and the turns of this rotating fun fold card. We're going to be using designer series papers and some die cuts, and I'm going to teach you in easy steps how to make this card. Now, I want to make sure you know all about the project sheet. You're going to find that link down in the video description below. When tonight's stream is over, you'll be able to find the pictures, cutting dimensions, and the supplies for all the projects I'm going to share with you tonight. Of course, I'm going to demonstrate one, but I've got several other amazing samples for you. I also want to make sure that you know how to log in so you can chat with us if you are here with us for the premiere. YouTube requires that you use your Gmail address to log into your YouTube account, so please go ahead and do that now. And then I want to introduce you to that beautiful name in blue off to the side. That's Grace Hudson. Grace is here to help moderate tonight with me during the premiere, so everyone say hello to Grace, and we're so grateful to have her. All right, we're all set. Let's head over to the table. We're going to begin with the paper trimmer. Now, this trimmer includes both the scoring and the cutting blades. You're going to be able to find this and all the products I'm using tonight in my online store at lisastampstudio.com. Love that they stay on the track at the exact same time, which means you can navigate them out of the way, and that clear cutting blade is fantastic. Now, I'm going to be using 2 pieces of colored cardstock. Now, you can make this infinity card, which is also what it's called, with the same color cardstock if you want. I find changing up the colors is not only fun, but it's going to make it a lot easier for you to follow along with me, which makes this tutorial easy. Let's start with this one, which is Lemon Lolly. And we're going to do 2 score lines on both of these. The first one is going to be at 1 1/2 inches. Now, I love that this trimmer has a nice straight edge here at the top, which means I can keep my cardstock nice and even. I don't do anything straight. So at 1 1/2, we're going to use that light blade and we are going to score. And then we're going to move over to 4 1/2 inches, again, along that edge, and we are going to score. We're going to do the exact same thing now on the other piece. And if I didn't mention it, these are 6 by 6 pieces. So if you're using 12 by 12 cardstock, that means you're going to get quite a bit from that to make this fun fold card. And then again, one more time at 4 1/2 inches. Now we're going to set this off to the side for just a minute. We're going to come back to it. But let's take these and let's work with our bone folder to crease up on these edges. The first thing I'm going to tell you is I want you to check the top and the bottom and make sure that these are aligned as evenly as possible. This is now a great time to adjust any little mistakes because none of us scores perfectly. You want these to come close to the center. If there is a small gap there, don't sweat it. You don't want them to overlap because I've made that mistake. Let's do the same thing here. Again, I'm checking here and here, just doing the best that I can. And we'll flip and we'll do the exact same thing here. Do you see how that wants to overlap a little bit? Which means obviously I either cut that 6 by 6 just a hair incorrectly, or I scored it a little bit crooked. All right, so there we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take these 2 pieces and we're going to cut them in half. So back to the trimmer, and that's where that blade is going to come into play. Now remember, this is 6 by 6. I'm keeping it folded when I cut it. We're going to open that. We're going to line up the left-hand side at 3 inches, and we are going to cut because that's in half. Now we've got 2 pieces. We're going to do the exact same thing with this one. I just navigated that cutting blade down and out of the way, and then we're going to cut. All right, so now we've got all of our pieces. We're going to move this. We don't need that anymore. And let's come in here now with these 4 pieces. It does not matter which color goes where as far as the order, but they're going to be placed in a position for you to put the card together. So let's start with these blue ones. I like to rotate these and just kind of go over those crease lines in both directions. Since I know I used my bone folder once, it really doesn't matter if I use it again. I'm going to map this out on my table so that you can see it. So we've got 2 going the long way, and these other 2, I'm just going to crease them back a little bit. They're going to go vertically on this side. And the reason is we have to make this so that this fun fold is going to flip and turn and pivot. That's what creates the never-ending feature. Next step is going to be where we're going to put the adhesive, and this is an important step. And I am grabbing my silver colored pencil, and I'm going to show you where the adhesive is going to go because it's going to make it easier for you to follow with me while it's on camera. You're going to put it here and here, which is the top two, and all the way down here and here. Now I have a template for you in that free project sheet, which is going to make this really easy for you at home. I am going to use tear and tape for this. I'm going to bring in my silicone craft sheet. And since I have these marked, let's go ahead and move these other pieces out of the way just to make this nice and easy. Now, tear and tape adhesive is super duper strong, which means you are going to be really careful where you're placing it. I don't want to go over the crease that's here, and I'm working near the top, and you can literally tear it. So I'm putting my fingernail here, and then I'm going to rip. Now, again, it's really strong, so if you backtrack a little bit on the tape like I just did, it may tear the cardstock just a tiny bit, but I'm not worried because we're going to backtrack that tape back on itself for any extra that's left over. And we're going to go here, and we're going to go here underneath it. I try to do my best not to overlap those pieces. So that's one. Here are my X's that were at the bottom. I'm just turning it to make it easier for my hand. And now we're coming up to here, and I'm working near that crease using my fingernail as the guide. And then up underneath here once again. Now, if this is your first time joining us, I'm so glad that you are here. Head over to lisastampstudio.com. Not only can you order the products there that you see me using, but I offer exclusive and generous ordering rewards. Would absolutely love to include you on those when you use my monthly host code. You're going to burnish those, which means rub down on that paper backing so everything is good and stuck into place. I'm going to lay this out for you one more time. Remember, we had it going like this. This is where you're going to bring in take your pick tool if you're like me and have a hard time getting that paper backing off. This is going to make your life a lot easier. We are in essence going to add these panels on top of here, but aligning them is really important. So I'm going to move this out of the way. Let's start up here, and I'm just turning it to make it easier for my hand. This take your pick tool is literally like my third hand. I cannot live without it. It has a putty tip on one side, which helps me pick up small pieces of paper and of course sequence. And of course, there's interchangeable tips that come with it, and this is the paper piercing tool attachment. Remember, this is the vertical. So this corner has to go to this corner. It is very important that these are as closely related as they can be. Now I have a little bit of adhesive sticking out here, so I'm going to kind of move that over. And then I'm looking to align the lemon lolly to the top of the blueberry bushel. But I want to make sure that they're aligned as perfectly as possible. And then we're going to press that in place. So now this is what we have. Now we're going to move down here to the bottom to connect this one whole side. So again, I'm just turning it to make it easy for my hand. When you're over on my website, scroll to the bottom, click on the word subscribe, and that'll sign you up for my free weekly e-newsletter where I include a free tutorial not shared on any of my other platforms. It's no frills. We would love to have you join us. All right, real sticky as you can see. So this is going to connect. Again, turning it to make it easy for my hand and trying to keep my head out of your camera view. I'm lining up the corners. Again, you want to keep these as close as you possibly can. Here in the center, they should just barely touch. That's really important. So we're going to go ahead and push those down. And now we're going to work on this side. Now this side, I'm going to be a little bit different. I'm actually going to take off both the top and the bottom because these two panels now are connected. I just found that that's easier. But because you saw how sticky this is, don't let that fool you. So I'm going to keep my hand here so it doesn't accidentally stick to this area before I'm ready. Let's go ahead and let's bring you in a little bit closer so that you can see. I think that might help. We're going to align the top corner, again, looking the very best that we can, and the bottom. And we're going to come down here to the bottom as well. Now, if you're like me, remember we talked about this when we creased it. It's a little bit of a hair off. So what I'm going to do is you can take your scissors, and of course you've got a guide here to kind of chop this, or you can put this back in your trimmer, which is exactly what I'm going to do. So let's come back here to my paper trimmer. I'm going to line this up at that 6-inch mark, and I can see, yep, that was a tiny hair off. So let's compensate. So I'm going to start here at the bottom, and this is going to slice. I want to make sure that those are nice and even. That is going to make a big difference for this fold. Now you can see how this is all going to bend, and we're going to go through all that in a minute because there are areas you have to decorate. There are two solid squares here which are easy to decorate, and this is where I want to give you a couple little ideas tonight. So I'm grabbing a piece of basic white cardstock here that I've cut into a square. But we're going to do a little bit of stamping here, but I'm going to teach you something that maybe didn't occur to you. I'm going to use ink pads that are relating to the colors that we just used in the cardstock. Now, this is the absolute best part of Stampin' Up! Products is the color coordination. So let's begin with the Lemon Lolly ink. And I have mounted a balloon here because we're making a birthday card, and I have fallen in love with this bundle. It's called Beautiful Balloons, Stamps and Coordinating Dies. And I love the dies, and I'm pointing this one out here because I have a use for it in another sample for you that I want to call your attention to. So lots and lots of fun. Let's go ahead and let's ink that up in the Lemon Lolly ink. Looking to keep this as straight as possible. Let's go ahead and let's stamp one of those here. And then we're going to do another one. And I'm going to change the dimensions on this a little bit. So I'm going to come down a little bit lower so we've got some depth. Now just off camera, I am cleaning that stamp. I'm going to close this up, and I'm going to move over to the Blueberry Bushel, which is the blue cardstock. Let's ink this up as well. And I am going to stamp this kind of in the middle of these two, like so. Now, as this dries, the pigmentation of those colors will be a little bit transparent so that you can see the balloons are actually overlapping, which gives that helium look to the balloons. Now, there is a little squiggly streamer inside of here that can be used for the string on the balloons. But I didn't want to do that for this one, and this is the little tip I wanted to share with you. I'm going to bring in some scratch paper, and I'm going to put this image down. And this time, I decided to grab my Stampin' Write marker. Now, this is the basic black, and it is double-sided. This is not an alcohol-based marker. I want to make sure that you're aware of that. This is just a regular dye-based marker. And the trick is a ruler. Now, I love this metal ruler. I do have one linked for you in my craft room favorites under shop on my website for a T-square ruler that's clear, that works just as well. Because this is metal, I am going to turn it upside down so that my edge is not raised. The T-square one that I have linked for you is even better, quite frankly, because you don't have to do that. So I'm going to line this up on my grid paper because remember, I can't do anything straight. And I'm looking visually to where that yellow balloon string should fall. I'm going to use the thin end of my marker, and then what we're going to do is we're going to draw a line. Then what we're going to do is move over here to the blue one, and we're going to do the exact same thing. And we're going to do the same thing on this last balloon here. Look how simple. Now, one thing I want to point out to you is there may be some residual black marker left on your ruler. So give it a good rub. See that? And because mine is metal and, of course, plastic, you can take it right over to your Stampin' Scrub or your scrub cleaner where you're cleaning your stamps to clean that off so you don't have any residue that's going to slide to another project. Now, this one I decided to add to here. I didn't do any layers on this one, but I have other cards for you that have layers on them, and I can't wait to share those with you. Some really extraordinary cards. So you can really umph this up if you want. I am going to add this here to the top. I just realized that I added these in a different order than the one that's inside your project sheet, but that's okay because you're going to have lots of different samples tonight. This is a piece of Designer Series paper. This comes from the Coordinating Designer Series paper package for this birthday suite. I absolutely love it. And I used one of my favorite die sets to create a really interesting formation here. This is called Basic Borders. So you'll see this squiggly one here, which kind of reminded me of clouds. So what I did is I die cut that ahead of time. And on another square that I stamped the confetti images that are included with the stamp set, I actually embossed a greeting on top of that. So you see that little squiggly area here? So I'm going to use that to my advantage. Let's go ahead and let's put these together. I'm going to flip that upside down. Let's add our adhesive. Now, if you want to use liquid glue, that's fine. Don't be too generous because you don't want it oozing outside the sides. And then I'm going to line this up across the bottom and the side here, just the best that I can. And we'll attach those together. And this is going to be my next panel. I do have to say, when you're using two different colors, you're going to be able to rotate the images. I decorated each section of this Infinity Never-Ending card at a time because I found that was the easiest for me. You see these smaller areas here? This is where your Designer Series paper comes into play, and I have those pieces here. Now, because my front panel on this one is Lemon Lolly and the one in your project sheet is actually the Blueberry Bushel, we may want to flip these over. This is the beauty of double-sided paper. Don't you love that? Stampin' Up! Does a great job with that. So let's go ahead and flip those over. Again, you're going to get another idea tonight compared to what's in that project sheet. I'll share that card with you too. You're looking to try to keep an equal circumference of cardstock all the way around. And you can see I'm not doing a really good job of that. So let's pick that up before we tack it down and move that over. And then we're going to do the exact same thing now with this one. And another here at the bottom. Let me give you some other ideas. If you don't want to use your designer series paper to fill up those scraps, you can stamp in those areas or you can leave them solid. Don't feel like you have to do as much as I'm doing. Remember, it's never wrong if it's your card. So feel free to experiment. All right, giving that a good cursory push. Let me show you what happens next. These pull back. And here comes panel number 2. Now this is where we want to go over those crease lines once again to make sure that they're well reinforced. Now for this panel, you're going to see that we have a whole lot of extra quadrants. So we've got 2 small square areas here and a longer area here, plus here and here. Now I'm not going to demonstrate all of that because we do have most of that already finished for you because, you know, most of it is pretty simple. You're going to see that I have that string hung over here. But that blue ink is nice and strong, so that's going to cover up that. And then here at the top, I decided to do an extension of that string. Isn't that fun? All right, so let's go ahead and add that, and then let me show you what we're going to put above that. Remember, these are great areas for you to be creative on, so don't feel like your card has to look exactly like mine. We're going to tack that in place, and then I stamped and die cut another balloon. But this time I wanted this one elevated. Now, I'll be honest, I was concerned by adding dimensionals that this would inhibit the fun fold from moving, stopping that never-ending movement to the card, but it didn't. Now, I like to use my dimensionals in an abundant fashion because I know I'm going to mail this card, and I want to make sure it doesn't come out lopsided. So let's go ahead and let's add this here. I made the line longer than I needed so that I could navigate this. Remember, you have to stay within the circumference of the card itself. And then we'll tack that here. I thought it was a little plain, so let's go ahead and let's take a star and let's add some adhesive to the back. Now this is where that silicone craft sheet underneath me is like my best friend. The adhesive in my Stampin' Seal Plus is very, very strong. But if I get a little zealous and it comes out on my work surface, it won't stick to my table. It'll just stick to that silicone craft sheet where adhesive, liquid glue, and hot glue will not stick. And I thought that needed a little pizzazz. So let's come over here with one of my small rhinestones. They have glue dots already on the back, and we're going to add that here. Now the next step for me was to fill those panels. I've got them all cut for you. So let's come in with some squares here. Now you can see the yellow might be a little bit lost on this one. So we're just going to change those around for tonight's card. And then again, I'll show you the original. We're going to add adhesive now to the back side. When you're over on my website at lisastampstudio.com, I would love to encourage you to click on online events. I also have a very vast PDF tutorial library there under my shop feature, which you'll absolutely enjoy. I've got over 75 different tutorials, all of which include multiple cards inside the tutorial. So you're going to get a whole lot there. Check those out. They're available for immediate purchase and download. And I only charge $1 per page. Here come my yellow stripes. Now we can add those here if we want more color. We can go this way. Oh, the decisions in life. Let's go with the pretty bright colors. That'll help offset some of that white. Again, double-sided papers. Now, if you're wondering how I choose my colors, I let the designer series papers do the work for me. So I copy the colors that are in the papers so that I can actually design my card a lot easier. So use that as a guide when you're creating. I'm going to turn this because I can't do anything straight, as I said. Looking for that narrow margin once again, and we'll tack that in place. All right, there's panel 2, but we're not done because it never ends. So now we're going to flip this way. Let's go over this once again to make sure we've got some nice flat pieces here. So for here, I've got some square pieces. Let's go ahead and let's add our adhesive to these. If you have paper like mine that has a direction, please make sure that they're all going the same way. So I'm going to make sure that my stripes on this one are vertical. So we've got to add those here and here. This is why I love this project, because you can use up all those scraps. We're going to work on the bottom 2 panels now as well. We'll flip those over. and speed things up a little bit. And I'm just adding a little bit of adhesive to both the sides. Again, check your direction to make sure they're going the right way. And that's going to put that one here, and we're going to put one more here. You see this area here where my fingers are? It's narrow, isn't it? So I was wondering, what could I put there as an image that would actually look good? So here's where I've got an idea for you. I took 2 panels of basic white cardstock that are going to fit there. Now I decided I needed to connect these together since I want to do stamping across both of them. So let's go ahead and let's line these up. And you might be wondering, well, how are you going to do that? Well, my best friend is the Post-it labeling and cover-up tape. I fell in love with this stuff. I use it to attach my dies in place when I die cut, but I also use it for things like this. Now, this is not a Stampin' Up! Product, obviously, but I have it linked for you on my website under Shop Craft Room Favorites. Now, I tore off a piece I used earlier. We're going to use that again. Make sure that they're touching, and then you're going to tack that in place. We're going to flip this over. I'm going to come back now to my scratch paper to protect my work surface. And this is where we're going to add some streamers. So let's go ahead and start with the lemon lolly color on this one. And you can see how long this image is, way longer than what we're going to need. And because it's long and thin, I prefer to stamp it face up on my work surface. That's going to make sure that I don't miss a spot. And then I'm going to kind of navigate this one near the top, and we're going to press. Now, photopolymer is really wonderful to work with. That's a clear stamp, just like this one, and it's going to take the color of the ink that you're using, which means it's going to make it a lot easier for you to provide color in the exact same spot or an image in the place that you want it. Now we're going to go ahead and we would change colors now to the blueberry bushel, and then all we would do, I'm speeding things up for you, is remove that tape so you've got your 2 panels. Now I did create those ahead of time. I'm going to go ahead now and attach those to the center panels. And you might be thinking that still looks a little bit plain. And I thought so too. And this is where I ended up using the dies to umph up this area just a little bit. Now, although there's not a crease here, this panel was flipped from the previous section. So I'm making sure that I'm working within the symmetrics of these sections so that when this card is opened, you're going to have beautiful coordination from the front to the back. And I'm going to move this one over just a little bit and we'll attach it here. I'm going to go ahead and use that image that we just used to hold that down just a little bit. And we're going to add some die cut balloons from the die set. These are so cute, aren't they? So I flipped them over. We're going to add just a little bit of adhesive with my Stampin' Seal Plus to the back. And I love that it comes out in tabs, so it makes it easy for me to use. I'm going to kind of just gauge where these are going to go. So I'm thinking kind of like here and here. Now, if you want, you can go ahead and mask that area off. I've got a piece of scratch paper here, and you can add it right underneath here, and you can use your ruler once again, and you can draw the areas that you want to connect. So let's go ahead and connect this one, and I'm going to come down here, and then I'm going to slide this one over, and we're going to do the exact same thing here. That's going to make sure that you don't get ink on the paper underneath it. Now, you know it needs bling, doesn't it? So let's go ahead and let's use those rhinestones to our advantage once again, using my Take Your Pick tool. So I'm going to add one here, and let's add another one up here. And just because I love threes, odd numbers, let's go ahead and add another one up here. Press those in place. Now we have one more panel left. These are going to naturally fold back, which leaves us these. Now, I have a confession to make. This one's going to be different because I die cut the pieces different, but I can't wait to show you the one that's in your project sheet. I stamped and I die cut this image here. And let me show you this die. This actually leaves the negative in the cardstock. So I just added some colored cardstock behind it so that it would peek through. Obviously, this panel was supposed to be the lemon lolly, like I said. So we're going to just go ahead and add a little adhesive here. You know, it never comes together when you're on camera, like when you're by yourself. I don't know why that is, but you tell me how much you love to see that I have to improvise and make changes along the way. So we've got our balloon here. I'm going to let this one kind of just hang off to the side underneath that art greeting, which I love. Let's use a few dimensionals here so that we can place this down. And I cannot wait to share with you how this opens and closes, and these other samples, which I'll tell you right now are pretty amazing, I have to say. And then we're going to tip this one for a little visual interest. And then I've got one more blue star this time. We're going to add a little bit of that Stampin' Seal Plus to the background. Let's add this one here off to the side. You know I can't resist a gem. So I love that these are quick and easy with a glue dot already on the back. Let's put that one in the middle for some visual interest. Now here at the bottom, I wanted an area where you could write a message. So I'm going to leave this one blank. Let's go ahead and let's add our adhesive here. Now here comes my next confession. Are you ready? I ran out of that exact same designer series paper that I used on the other panels. But don't worry, this is the great part of Stampin' Up! Products is the color coordination, because that package has other patterns in it. And I thought these yellow stars are gonna look fantastic on that blue paper. So let's go ahead and let's add this together. This one is gonna be a little bit of a surprise as we turn the panels, but I think it's gonna be amazing. Let's go ahead and add those here. And we're gonna add another one here. Leave me a comment now and tell me what color you would make your card. I would love to know, because the other samples I'm going to share with you in just a minute are completely different. And you'll be able to see how detailed you want to get or how simple you want to get. Remember, even though your designer series paper scraps fit beautifully in these small areas, you can absolutely positively just leave colored cardstock there. So obviously here on the back, we've got room. This is coming back to the beginning. Are you ready? Here's the front of the card. There's one, there's two, here's three, and here's four, and a place to write. And they can just keep going and going. And I love this because it's intuitive. You don't have to worry about them not knowing how to open and close it. Isn't this fun? All right, now let me push this out of the way and let me bring in the one that I originally designed. That's this one. So you can see the difference was I put the blueberry bushel color on top, and let's go ahead and show you the inside on this one. So I was able to move this over just a hair, offset that balloon a little bit. And then this is the other panel, very similar. And then our last panel with the designer series paper. Really, really simple and lots of fun, but I cannot wait to share these with you. This next one uses Taco Fiesta. So great for kids or kids at heart. I do love to color, so this is a great set for me. And here is the card that I made. Now you might be thinking, wow, on those colors, it's so pretty. This paper is called Stargazing, and one side has a very galactic kind of theme with the planets and the sunscapes and the sky, but I fell in love with the other side. Those double-sided paper options are amazing. Do you see the fringe? Do you remember I mentioned this to you with the dies, that this was going to come into play? And that's exactly what this does. Not only does it make a ribbed border, but it can actually create a fringe. Now, one tip for you when you're doing this, start your fringe lower than you expect and build up. Don't start at the top and work down. So here we've got Holy Guacamole, It's Your Birthday. I used that same Stampin' Write black marker to create some hands and feet just for some little fun character here. And then on the inside, we've got Spectacular for your birthday. This is masking. I have a video here on my YouTube channel as well as a YouTube short to teach you how to do that. It's quick and simple. And then here is number 3. We've got our piñata and of course, place to write. And then here we go. We've got one more to end off our card. Really fun. All right, the next one uses a stamp set called Pansy Patch. It's been around for a while. It has coordinating dies, pansy dies. It's not a bundle anymore, but you're not going to want one without the other. These are really tremendous. Now, let me show you this card. Any purple lovers out there? Really plays up the yellow as well. This greeting, you might be looking, going, where did you get that die? So let me share it with you. It's this die here. And all I did was make the die smaller. Now, I have a YouTube short that shows you how to resize your dies. But basically, you're going to cut the original size, and then you're just going to line up those grooves once again, and you can resize any of your dies to make them smaller. So beautiful pansies. So this is 1. And then here is 2, and then here is 3, and here is 4, and a spot to write. Really pretty. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. This was a lot of stamping and die cutting, but boy, was it worth it, isn't it? As always, I love to know your favorite. Do me a favor, pop down right now and let me know. Your feedback is always very important to me. A couple things that you need to know about before we go. The first is this. When you spend in July, and today is the last day, you're going to earn bonus days dollars, or bonus bucks, as I like to call them, to use in August for your orders. All the information is over on my website. Click on shop and you'll get the details there. And then next, I want to let you know all about Stamp Studio memberships. If you haven't joined us, we would love to have you join the hundreds that are part of this membership program. For just $5 a month, I'm going to send you an exclusive tutorial that I've created that's not shared on any other platform every Monday right to your inbox. This is exclusive, meaning, yeah, you not only do you get exclusive content I've not created for other projects, you're absolutely going to be able to share these tutorials and the photos anywhere that you want. They're not watermarks, so if you teach classes or you stamp with friends, you are more than welcome to copy these. And it doesn't matter what country you live in. And if that's not enough, there's level 2, where you, for $10 a month, get everything in level 1, plus a fun fold card, a discount in my PDF tutorial library, and of course, we have random prize patrol winners every month. Please mark your calendar and come back with me next Monday. That is August 7th already, where Gina Hawley will be back here in the live chat. She will be moderating and interacting with you. I know she's super excited about being here with you. Grace, thank you so much for all that you've done for Lisa Stamp Studio during this time. And we look forward to spending next Monday with all of you. Have a great evening, everyone. Bye-bye.